bit of some game dev pipeline vlogging here really quick. That's what we're going to try and do. So I'm going to really quickly go through some of the programs we're using on Orbital Dogfight to work on some of the planetary terrain here. So really quickly, I'm going to show you the overview. So we're going to go through World Machine, and then we're going to go into Rhino. And in Rhino, we're probably going to use Grasshopper, which is over here in this window. And then from Rhino and Grasshopper, we'll go into Unity. And from Unity, we'll go into VR. And so we'll do a real quick, hopefully this will keep us under 10 minutes, and we'll see what we can get through. So let's go back to World Machine. So World Machine is a terrain generation tool, and we're basically using it to generate some customized terrain within the world. Now, right now, it's on a beta version. It's only 512 by 512 resolution, so this is pretty low-res terrain and low-res image maps for it, but we're just sort of playing around with what looks good and what's fun to fly around in. So I'm not going to tell you everything there is about World Machine. Just going to kind of go into the quick overview of it. Right here, this little set of nodes is basically taking a radial grid and doing a bunch of combinations, inversions, selections of height and combinations. And eventually that creates a little asteroid ring, and then you can sort of see, I'm just going to run this really quick. That's one asteroid ring. And it's got the little peak at the center. It's got, it's sort of sloughing off here as it begins to collapse into its center, reducing the height of that sort of steep ring. And back in the outliner here, you can see that I've got a number of impact craters that are going to be placed around. Those all get combined. I add some noise to them. They get eroded. Actually, I'm on a different path right now. This was an old one that we made earlier. Erosion, and basically set up how we want our bitmap to look. And so the bitmap looks like this, the height map looks like that, and together they're going to look something like this, which is sort of one giant impact crater that's been eroded over time, and then another impact crater that's also been eroded but has come into the play later. So what we've already done is in World Machine we've gone in here and hit write output to disk, and we've output this to one of our folders as a PNG file. And then we've done the same thing for the bitmap. We've specified the file output as image 5, which corresponds to the height map output 5, and we're writing that output to disk. Those go into the same folder. It's also a PNG, so they're both in the same format, which is nice. And those basically, let's see if I have that folder open here, easily accessible. There we go. So World Machine test outputs. You can see that some of these are height maps and some of them are texture maps, and then those are eventually going to end up in Unity here. And you can see like that's one. Just do this wireframe really quick. You can actually see the meshes. So they're not being generated at runtime. They're actually built beforehand, which we'll see depending if we'll see how well I can break these up into LODs and control that amount of information, because once this planet's filled up with terrain, it'll be a lot of information at once. So anyway, we're just testing out different types of terrain, and we're going to put a new one in right now, and I'm going to walk you through the process of Rhino really quickly. So we came out of World Machine. Out of World Machine, we've got the texture map and the height maps. So we're going to go into Rhino, and this is a little bit of a complex script that I've written here with Grasshopper. Let's see if I can get it to pull up again. Just drop that out, bring it back. There's Grasshopper. It's going to be hard to show this without my two screens at once, but I'll try and do it. Let's see here. Let's get this in the right view. So essentially I've got my planet model here, right? And these terrains are being baked into each one of these tiles. Get this out of the way. So each one of the tiles has a different style of terrain in it right now, or a different terrain map. They're all sort of similar in some senses. They go high up on the edges and they drop down in the center for reasons I won't explain right now. So we're going to bake out this quadrant right now. So I'm going to turn off the outer layer. I'm going to go ahead and reference that quadrant in my code here, which I want it to show. And I think it's going to be, here we go. So we're looking for this quadrant here. Let's just scroll through. I think I just flew by it. If it's above 54, yeah, wait, where was it? Right there. Okay, lucky number 9. Okay, so knowing it's 9, I've got the UV coordinates here. I'm going to dial those in really quick if I can. So we're going to go 6, 9. Oops. Got to disable the actual part of the script that's doing the heavy lifting. Otherwise, if I'm adjusting it while I do the heavy lifting, it'll just bog up the CPU. So I'm turning that node off. That cuts off everything down the line. So I'm only computing right now my frame of reference here for this. So I want to go to U to 6, 9 here, roughly speaking. Okay, that's fine for now. We'll zoom in a second. And my V domains should be fine because it's all along the same level there. Okay, so we're trying to just match this up. Just so I'm covering, just covering the edges here, so that I want to have a little bit of overlap. I'm not trying to make my mesh line up perfectly, but I want it to have a little bit of overlap there. Now the distortion here is something we can get into later if anyone is interested. But okay, I'm going to match that up. There we go. So I'm covering the area I want to project my new terrain into. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the script here. I'm going to zoom out, and first we'll enable this so the rest of the script's working. That'll take a second to run. There it goes, but I'm referencing the wrong height map here. I'm referencing an old one. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to reference, this is in the actual project, so I want to come back out. I think I'll put it on my desktop here. Let's see, there they are. And we're going to reference our new height map, which is output 5. And we'll hit OK. You should see that load up. And it's going to take new heights from that. It's going to basically blast those onto the place I want. And what we're going to get is... okay, so right now it's actually projecting the old terrain map on there. So what we're going to do... Oops, that's not the one we want. We're going to change the path right here. So on the file path, we'll change this to our new texture for that, which is image 5. And now we have what our terrain is going to look like spherically mapped onto the planet. So we get a little preview of that. It's very similar to this terrain. In fact, we used, I think, oh no, we actually switched it up, but we used the same color method. So you can see there's a little bit of consistency there. So we're going to go ahead and bake this terrain out. I'm going to do that in Grasshopper here by going to G. I go to bake. I'm going to bake that out. I'm actually going to set a new material for it really quickly. Oh shit. That's the end of the vlog. My baby's here. Cheers. Part 2, I guess. I don't know.